Well, good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for taking time to be here today for this important public safety update and happy holidays from the entire city of Cleveland. As you know, 2 years ago, our administration announced the RISE initiative, raising investment safety for everyone. And two of the important tenets of that initiative were, number one, doubling down on our efforts to attract and retain more officers to join the Division of Police here in the city of Cleveland. And then the second tenet of that important initiative was also doubling down on our partnerships with federal, state, and local law enforcement to reduce violent crime across the city of Cleveland. I wanted to spend a few minutes talking about the progress that we've made around recruitment, retention, and attraction inside the Division of Police. As many of you know, when I took office, Cleveland was ranked in the bottom third across the state of Ohio in terms of police pay. So we got to work, and we had three, not one, but three successful bargaining agreements with the police union to increase police pay by a record number of 34% over the last 3 years. We also increased cadet pay by 50%, added a $5,000 sign-on bonus. We also streamlined the hiring process and added additional incentives for folks who may have a college degree or a veteran to have a fast-track promotion inside the Division of Police. And we did some small things around culture, allowing our officers to have beards, have tattoos, and wear ball caps. And because of those investments, we've seen some dramatic improvements in terms of our recruitment and retention efforts inside the Division of Police. First and foremost, between 2022 and 2023, only 55 people joined our police department as a recruit in 2022 and 2023. But after these investments, we have seen 251 cadets join the Division of Police between 2024 and 2025, a testament that these investments are working, which is an incredible 356% increase in the number of recruits joining this division post the investments from the RISE initiative. I think the other thing important to note is the work that we've done around attrition. We were facing a crisis in terms of folks leaving our department to go to suburban departments across the county and across the state. But because of these investments, we've seen a nearly 50% decrease in attrition in our ranks. In 2022 and 2023, we had 351 net departures inside the Division of Police. And between 2024 and 2025, only 179 folks have left our department. Again, that represents a nearly 50% decrease in attrition rates across the Division of Police. The second thing I want to mention, and Chief Todd will talk more about our recent operation with many of our state and federal and local law enforcement partners, is the fantastic partnerships that we've created with the governor. And I want to thank Governor Mike DeWine for his commitment and investment in supporting our public safety efforts here in the city of Cleveland, as well as the Director of Public Safety, Andy Wilson, for his partnership and commitment. And it's so great to have the U.S. Marshals, the FBI, U.S. Attorney, the County Sheriff Department, and the County Prosecutor's Office all joining the city of Cleveland in deploying an all-of-government approach to reduce violent crime in the city of Cleveland. Not only have we deepened those partnerships with state, federal, and local law enforcement, but we're using technology in a very different way. We've gotten hundreds of guns off our streets because of our brand new Crime Gun Intelligence Center. We have expanded the number of cameras and license plate readers to cut down on car break-ins across the city. And we're supporting our residents and small businesses with the expansion of our Safe Smart CLE program, giving our residents and businesses the ability to plug in their cameras into our 24/7 real-time crime center, in addition to the fact that we now have 5 crime intelligence analysts against all 5 police districts across the city of Cleveland. Again, focused deterrence, smart partnerships, and using technology to cut down on violent crime across the city. And the result speaks for themselves. Year to date, homicides have declined by 16%. Rapes are down 28%. Robberies are down 24%. Grand theft motor vehicles are down 26%. Felonious assaults are down 15%. And burglaries are down 14%. And now let me say this. Data is, here are our new recruits getting ready, by the way. Let me say this before I kick it over to Chief Todd. Data is one thing, and we are pleased to announce the progress we made in terms of the data declines around violent crime in the city. But this department and this city will continue to do whatever we can to address the perception of crime across our streets. That's why we always are going to deploy an all-of-government approach to reduce violent crime in the city of Cleveland. And now Chief Todd will talk more in details about our recent operations. Chief.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So in late September, we started having conversations with the Ohio Department of Public Safety at the request of the governor's office. And we talked about how we could make a final push into the year about reducing violent crime and taking violent individuals off the street here in the city of Cleveland. So with that, we started an initiative on October 15th. It ran for 2 months, from October 15th through December 15th. And this was a partnership with the Ohio Department of Public Safety, State Highway Patrol, our federal partners to include the U.S. Marshals, DEA, FBI, the State's Attorney's Office, and of course the Division of Police. And if I missed anybody, I apologize. So with that, what we did was proactive enforcement partnerships throughout the city of Cleveland to get the violent offenders off of the streets. And the outcomes we saw were significant. So with this initiative, it ran for 2 months total. This group of officers was able to take 300 firearms off the street. They made 338 felony arrests. They had 250 warrant arrests, recovered 130 stolen vehicles. The Adult Parole Authority had 1,026 site visits that they completed just on their own, which, if you're not familiar with that, those visits are really about letting those people who are on parole know that we are out there and there's enforcement efforts, and just checking to see if they're involved in any further violent crimes. They executed 127 search warrants. 2,997 traffic citations were issued. Out of the narcotic seizures, there were 65 pounds of narcotics seized during this event. And that included cocaine, meth, and fentanyl, and other various drugs as well. And they also seized $303,980 in cash, and there were also 155 misdemeanor arrests. The goal for this operation was to have a significant impact in helping decrease violent crime throughout the city. And we can tell you that these numbers are a part of the story, but the commitment that the men and women have here in the Division of Police for reducing violent crime never stops. So with that, I'd just like to give an opportunity for our FBI partner to speak up for a second to talk about their part.
Hello, my name is Anthony Manganero, Assistant Special Agent in charge of the Cleveland Field Office. We just wanted to extend, especially on behalf of our Special Agent in charge, Gregory Nelson, our continued commitment to the Cleveland Police Department and to all of our federal and local and state partners here in this area to help serve and protect the area in which we live. We are grateful for the Cleveland Police Department, especially with our partnerships over at the Strike Force and the reduction of the violent crime over this initiative and a lot of initiatives. The FBI has a long history of going after violent criminals, and we will continue to do so in partnership with our state and federal partners. So on behalf of, again, the Special Agent in charge, Gregory Nelson, thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Well, as I've often said, public safety is a group project. The men and women here on this stage can't do it alone. And so as we begin the holiday season, I just want to encourage our residents to continue to get involved, join a block club, find a way to mentor a young person in the community, but also spread the word that we are open for folks to join the Division of Police. We have a new expedited hiring event coming up in just 3 weeks from January 9th through January 11th. Already 800 people have signed up to attend that event, and 30 men and women are starting the academy just today. So again, we're making great progress on recruitment, great progress on these partnerships, but the work continues to make Cleveland a safer city. So that being said, we'll take some questions.
Yeah, I have a question about the recruit process. What do you believe might be a turning point in more people signing up? You said 800 people signing up, not just the incentives, but is there a change in the culture within the department, or is there also a change in how people view police officers?
Yeah, I'll start, and I want Chief Todd to chime in. I think number one, our administration, in partnership with the command staff and Director Drummond, have really been focused on changing the culture of the police department by investing in technology, by giving officers more tools to fight violent crime. And I also think that the changes around small things, particularly for millennials and the Gen Z workforce, beards, tattoos, ball caps, that speaks to them being their authentic selves. And so the fact that we're a more progressive, modern department, I think speaks to the huge interest we're seeing from many folks who want to join the department now. I would also say we had too much red tape and process in place before I took office. Before we made these changes, it took 18 months for someone to join the Division of Police. Now we've cut the time to hire from 18 months to 4 months. And so if you've been waiting for 18 months to get an offer letter, you're going to find another job. And in this economy, we can't afford to let process get in the way. So we still have more work to do, but I think these big and small things have really helped us change the culture to attract more interest into the division. Chief Todd, you want to add to that?
And another thing that we find is, one, the word is getting out. The word is definitely getting out about the positive changes that were made here in the division in the city of Cleveland, and it's a great place to work. And we historically find that, January is always a big hiring month for the division, but these numbers really reflect, what we are going to achieve and what we're working to achieve.
Mark?
There's been quite a few closures of downtown businesses, that's my language, including Play, Medusa, et cetera, Daffy Bar, et cetera. Can you, from my perspective, my journalistic perspective, there's been a kind of strong arm approach to just close these places down, just deal with whatever comes after that. I'm using the word strong arm. Can you explain your philosophy
absolutely.
Behind, you can mention whatever.
Yeah.
Can you explain the philosophy?
Yeah, and I'll have Chief Todd chime in as well. Look, it's important not to look at these things in isolation. And I want to give you some context. Earlier this year, in partnership with public safety, law, and building and housing, we passed tougher nuisance laws, particularly for commercial businesses, because we were getting many complaints in the community of problematic locations across our city. And with the Play example, we had many numerous complaints and violations before that mass shooting that put that place on our radar. Now I will tell you this, whenever there's a mass shooting, myself and the command staff, led by the chief, we are going to make the best possible decision given the circumstances. What I was not going to allow or not accept was we let that place stay open that same evening with another party with maybe a fear of retaliation after 6 people just got shot. And so we have to be extra cautious when there's a mass shooting or an event of that magnitude of violent crime to protect the safety and the welfare of our residents. Now, for Medusa, we did not close that establishment. The landlord decided to close that establishment and change the locks in that establishment. But I will say this, and the press knows this very well, 8 people were shot and killed at Medusa over the last several years. And that is frankly unacceptable. And this is not about a race thing. This is about making sure we hold any property owner, any club owner responsible for having a good, safe operation. We want to encourage responsible operators of all races, of all genders, to open up shop in Cleveland. But if you don't do what you need to do to have the right security, to have the right safeguards, we are going to hold you accountable because we have to do everything we can to keep the city safe. Chief Todd, that's that.
Just real quick, these aren't the only establishments that have ever been closed historically in the city. And normally we do work with the Ohio Investigative Unit. And we have a bar that we see a lot of issues on. And sometimes it leads to temporary closures, court order closures, for safe plans to be put in place before they become operational. And sometimes when that does happen, a landlord or building owner on themselves may take it upon themselves to evict the tenant. So a lot of times the perception is the city shut this bar down when you talk about the number of different bars, but sometimes they're temporary closures and the landlords, like with Medusa, we hadn't stepped in to do a temporary closure there yet, but the landlord took action first.
Just in terms of the crime rates, we saw, in the 2 months, a lot of that go down, especially given the collaboration and partnership we all had. How do you plan to maintain that and keep that down?
So one of the things I want to talk about is sometimes there's a misconception that once these operations stop, that the partnerships stop as well. We continue to have these partnerships on a daily basis. We have a strike force operation, which is a partnership with all of these federal partners. And our officers work with them on a daily basis. We work with the Ohio State Highway Patrol on a daily basis. These partnerships continue. This one here was just a ramped up version. So we will continue to have those operations as we have, but this ramped up one was very effective.
Can I ask about the actual number of recruits? Because I know that's a moving number. How many officers are you still short at this point? And then also, could you clarify how many on average retire or leave each year, just so we kind of know, because the graph is probably a little misleading as for what we actually still need.
So we currently have 2 police academy classes in right now. We have one that's slated to graduate in April, and there's currently 36 in that class. And then we have the new class that starts today, and they'll graduate in August of next year. And then once this hiring event happens, that class will start in April. So we've been running 2 classes at the same time. So as soon as one graduates, we had a class of 40 graduate on Friday. That class graduated Friday, we started a class today. Sergeant Diaz will get you all of our numbers as far as our complete staffing numbers afterwards, or any follow-up questions related to that.
Okay. You don't know how many leave each year on average?
On average, I think this year we had 82.
Including retirements?
Yes, that's a combination of both.
But anecdotally, I will say, and the chief can attest to this, she's getting intel every month of folks who are eligible to retire, who aren't retiring, because all these changes that we made. And I think the recruitment numbers we talked about earlier, I think speaks to the work we've done to reverse that trend. And of the, how many graduated on? Of the 40 that graduated last Friday, 40 started, 40 graduated. So again, the trend line's going in the right direction.
Yeah, so I got to ask though, because it
Yeah.
seems like you're replacing what you're losing and not building back. Do you feel like that's right or wrong?
I think that's wrong.
Okay.
We are definitely higher in hiring than we are in those that have retired. And I can tell you before, when you saw those numbers, how high they were in the past, a lot of those were people who were just separating. It wasn't about retirement. You know, people who are here 25, 30, 35 years, you know, if they want to retire, they're absolutely eligible for that. And what we're seeing, the trend is less leaving to go elsewhere. It's a big difference than what it was 3-4 years ago.
I just have two questions. So going into 2026, what is your focus? Obviously, you guys have been doing great things for 2025 when it comes to stop and preventing crime. So if you were to take the things that you guys have been doing, what's the one thing that you really want to improve come 2026?
We want to continue to keep our foot in the gas and double down on the investments we made around technology, as well as these very focused and intentional partnerships with state, federal, and local law enforcement. But if there's a space where I want to make sure we as a city are doing more and being more thoughtful and intentional about, it's about juvenile crime. The fact that we had to arrest a 14-year-old who was responsible for hundreds of carjackings across the city, it breaks my heart. And it also tells me that this kid has some talent that was not put in a more productive way. And so one of the things that I've told the chief is I want to examine what are the things leading juveniles to get involved in violent crime? Where is the system failing them? And how do we bring the county, the state, our foundation partners and business community to the table to deter that? Because too many young people are getting caught up in violent criminal activity, and we as a community have to do a better job of deterring that.
Okay, thank you so much. And then do you have any update on the deadly I-71 shooting?
Yeah, 71 shooting, you want to talk about that?
So that is still an active investigation. Like I think it was put out in the press release, we do know that that was targeted. It wasn't just a random criminal act that occurred. Our condolences do go out to the family members of the 2 individuals that were lost their lives in that shooting. But it is still active. As soon as we have more, we'll put that out for you.
Thank you.
I wanted to go back on the juvenile crime. Over the weekend, there were 3 kids. It happened in a different jurisdiction, but came into Cleveland. And some parents or some people might say, well, we should be holding parents accountable for something like this.
I read the story related to that particular article, and it's scary. I think there were 10, 11, and 12, and the 11-year-old stole the car and was driving. Those are scary, and I know that did come into our city, and that vehicle crashed in our city. When we look at the accountability for parents, right now, the measure we have in place is, when we're catching them at nighttime, when we're issuing curfew citations for those individuals who are caught out after curfew. We will continue to have conversations with our leaders about if there's more effective ways for accountability for the parents. But right now, we're doing that through the curfew citations.
So right now, that's the only thing you can do is through curfew.
Yes.
Last question?
Can I ask about the actual dollar figure for how much a new officer is going to make, as they sign up? I know there's a $5,000. Have you shared that? How much does a police officer make? Obviously, it's a very dangerous job.
Yeah, so the academy is $25 an hour, and they have a $5,000 signing bonus, and that is a step, so they get partial for coming to day 1, completing the training, graduating the academy. So that's broken up over that period. The salary, we can get those for you, the salary rates.
Okay, great.
And Mayor, quickly, can you respond to the CMSD ad and who paid for it and
Yeah.
why you would lend your voice to that?
Well, I'm going to lend my voice to any campaign that's going to support Cleveland's children, and I know that the campaign arm will comply with all state election laws at the appropriate time. Great. Okay, everybody. Happy holidays. Take care. Thanks for being here.